You guessed it, this is the character we are now going to be working on, Mojo. And yes, you probably have the Hasbro Special Edition box set. I don't have it. I was able to get this from Target when it was $42. But to me, $42 was still expensive. Now Mojo, you can paint and decorate however you want. Back in the 80s, there were many depictions of this particular character, and over time, there have been many more. So you can make him as grotesque, as intricate, as interesting, however your artistic vision dictates he should look like. There is no specific characteristic that he is prone to have except for maybe those tentacles on his head. So as far as the coloring, it's all up to you. I went with this one because it's from the collectible cards that I had at the time. But before we start, let me give you fair warning. This project will require lots of time and it will test your patience. Installing LEDs into this unit or this project is very time consuming and therefore will require lots of patience because, well, they're very small lights. But to start off with, you already know that it comes in pieces because he's not going to fit in a box like this. So you'll have to put him together. And the fact that he comes already dismounted, it just makes it that much easier to work on. And we're going to start right here. We're going to jump right into it. And this is what the video is going to deal with. Lighting Mojo. Paint, etc. It's all up to you. It's very minimal. But the actual lighting project, that's what is really going to make this project come to life. I had to cut an opening into the base underneath where the body sits because I want to insert a AAA battery unit to power all of the lights that I want on this unit. Now if you only want one set of lights, that's fine. You don't need the large power source. If all you want is these tiny little multicolored lights, all you need is a 2032 battery and it'll power this sufficiently. But I wanted to go just another step further. Not just these 3 LED lights, or actually 4 at the top of the unit, but I wanted to do more like you saw in the front where that switch is. By the way, that switch in the front, that's just a plug. You can take that out. I also wanted this in the back of the unit, and I haven't finished it off in this clip. But what I'm showing you here is that I replaced those black panels with translucent resin, clear resin, UV resin, to be able to illuminate the interior and have it be seen from the exterior. Now obviously I had to dim down the lights for you to even see this. In bright white light, it's going to be difficult to see the actual changes in the colors. The LEDs in the back, that's another set that I put in there as well. Like I said, I wanted to really bring out a lot of lights. Now this is a close-up of those multicolored LEDs that I acquired from Amazon, and I'll have a link in the description below. And I set 4 of those at the top, 2 on each side and 1 front and back. That way it can be seen from all sides at those top of those panels. And then the other ones that you see here, those are also small LEDs that I acquired from Amazon. It's a set of 25, a pack of 25, costs about $10. Either one, there's orange, there's white, and there's multicolored. This is a close-up of those lights, the white ones now, that are along the side underneath those multicolored lights. And these are all of the wires that are just in the way at the moment, just a spaghetti of wires. This is a close-up now of those LEDs, and at the bottom left corner, it shows you truly how small they are. That's why it really tests your patience, because they're incredibly difficult to see. If you've got goggles, great, that'll help you out. If you've got great eyesight, well, that's a plus for you. But they're so tiny that when you're gluing them down with resin, you've got to make sure the correct side is facing up. And because they are so small, you can break those contacts very easy. Now, I've connected everything in groupings using quick connects from evansdesigns.com. The nice thing about using the quick connect wires is that it allows you to quickly figure out where you might have a short, or to replace a grouping that much easier without having to resolder everything. You can just disconnect it from the power source and go right to the actual connections on those lights and only work with that grouping. So it makes it so much easier. Now you see the bottom right, I did light up those thrusters or those jetpacks, whatever those are. It had to have also a significance, and the light really makes it pop. And that is a orange resin that I colored and poured in there, and then obviously used the UV light to harden it. Now here's a close-up also of those quick connect wires. I have one that is a 5 connection wire. It's already pre-assembled, comes from evandesigns.com. All you gotta do is splice it in there and you're set and ready to go. Here's a quick view of what the body looks like with the multicolored lights right behind the head. But I didn't stop there. Let me show you what else I did. So I decided to replace these black panels. There's total 6 of them. These actually I broke. That's why they have an L shape to it, because the part that broke is actually still on the actual chassis or body. Anyway, I used silicone molds to create these exact duplicate molds that I will now fill in resin and create a duplicate resin casting of it. And if you see the mold, it's flat, completely flat, and it's actually right to the surface edge of that particular object. Well, I flattened it by placing something heavy on top of it. In my case, I have some leftover granite from the countertops we put in the kitchen, and I put that on top, and I let it set until it cooled, and it gave me this really, really nice impression of that particular panel. If you've got a brick or something else that's heavy, that will really help you out. Now this one, the silicone was not as thick, so it did not leave as great as an impression. I mean, you can see the texture, but it's not the same thickness as the actual object. So I'll have to redo that. In the meantime, what I do want to do now is fill in some color. Now you can paint it, you can use colored resin. I want to use actual wires and cut them to length, fit them inside, embed them with resin, and then pour a colored resin on top of that. But let me show you how they turned out. So in the first clip with the multicolored lights, you saw this panel, the one on the left. This is my first attempt, and I did do a black wash into it, but look how thin they are. They're really flimsy, and they actually do the job for what I really do need. However, they look also really bad. And when you compare those to the ones on the right-hand side, this is now my third attempt. Oh wow, they look so much better. There's actual wires that are embedded in there. They're colored wires, so I didn't have to worry about messing up on the paint. And the translucent color, that smoky look, makes it look that much cleaner, so much nicer. Now I still have to go back in and do a dry brush with silver to really give it some impact. But this is what it looks like now installed. Look at the top and the bottom and the center as well too. It's gonna look so much nicer once it's lit. Now this is not a full-blown painting video, but I will show you that I did use the Vallejo premium paint. I used black and a blue and a silver that I mixed together to get this, well, this industrial gray metallic color. And I did that and painted it all over the actual chassis and then the actual chair that he sits on. And that's what I ended up using, and I did it with an airbrush. I went back in and did some dry brushing, but this is so simple that anybody is going to be able to do it. You can do it by hand or you can do it with an airbrush. It just depends on your taste. What do you want it to look like? You want it to look pristine or you want it to look weathered? And that's going to be all up to you. This video actually focuses more on the actual lighting than it does the paint. So the more artwork that I looked at for reference on Mojo, I saw that the back had lots of wires. I did paint the back, this is actually a vinyl cap. I thought it was a hard plastic, but I figured that a flexible filament would really set it off. And this is what it looks like. I went with the green, and I was actually going to plan to use this for a different project. It looks really good right here, and I'm going to leave it. Now, as far as that plug that's in the front, that switch, that rocker switch, it's a plug. You can pull that out by heating it up and then replace it with styrene. And you can please replace and glue the styrene in that same hole or have it all the way up to the top and then sand it flush. It's all up to you. I inserted it into the inside and filled it out and then sanded it down. And now I am going to replace it with a true rocker switch because I want to be able to use it as it is. This is from evandesigns.com. It comes pre-wired. It's only about $3, very inexpensive. Now let's go back and take one more look at the before the project was even started. Before any paint, before any lights. This is what he looked like. So now, before I show you the finished product, I do want to show you another little lighting test that I did before I put it back together. And as I put it back together, I realized I had one more mini project on this, and that was the second head. I love the swappable heads, and I love both of them, but one of them just really was more dynamic. And it needed to be even more dynamic, because of the artwork that you saw earlier. And I had to do something extra with that second head. To me, this is the second head. Actually, it should be the one that comes with it only, because to me it was more dynamic. So I decided to add some wires. And these are extra wires that I had from other projects. And I got that really tight coil by coiling it around a very thin rod. The bigger the rod, the larger the coil. The smaller the coil, the tighter the coil is on the smaller the rod. That's what I'm trying to say. In any case, let me switch camera angles and lighting for you to really appreciate the full sculpt. Before I show you the finished product, I will tell you about the scorpion tail, because I know there will be questions on this. I did paint it. I painted it black first, and then I went back over it with a gunmetal gray, and then the edges I detailed in with a silver. Going back over the entire thing with a color shift paint that, depending on the angle of light, it will change from a purple shade to a blue, and giving you those iridescent colors. Now, keep in mind that these are only ideas, and you can implement these or not into your project. Your artistic eye will detail or dictate what it should look like. I hope that you learned something today. I hope that you liked the video. Keep in mind that if you do want to acquire this particular piece, yes, it is for sale. Just private message me in the comments and I can certainly get back to you on that. Of course, it will not ship out in a flat box. It's already been put together and it pretty much will ship in a larger square box. However, if you do like the video, leave that in the comments. Let me know what you liked or if you have any questions. And of course, we'll see you here next time. Enjoy the video.